All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Floor is Yours podcast. Y'all know the game. You know the rules. Like, share, follow us on all your social media platforms. Today's a special show. Y'all know we've been pushing a lot to just to grow the platform for more men to be more vocal with their challenges. So I partnered with Dr. Jennings. She's not a stranger here, but she has a group. Forgive me if I'm framing it wrong, but it's called MenShift. So we're going to give y'all a chance to talk about what MenShift is about. But before that, let you introduce yourself. So Dr. Jennings, I know you're not a stranger here, but if you would, for the people that don't know you, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what brings you to the show.
Okay. Well, awesome. Hello, everybody. Super excited to be here today to share, to me, something very important, right? But just to let you know who I am, my name is Dr. Elizabeth Jennings. By profession, I am an occupational therapist. It's what I've been doing for 25 years. I work with pediatric and special needs children. I'm also a certified life coach. I am a business owner of a coaching firm. And then I'm also the founder of Boys.
Okay, thanks. We got a little frozen from her, but Jason, if you would, go ahead and take a moment to explain. Tell us who you are and what brings us to the show.
Yes, sir. Hey, thanks first for having me on the platform, brother. Great when men get together and we have these conversations. So a little bit about me, my name's Jason Jinks, Georgia native, currently down here in Texas, and retired from the military 2 years ago, coming up on 2 years. Man, time is flying. 20-year vet, United States Army, and I am currently the founder of the Dream Up Foundation. So we focus on young adults and helping them reach their goals and dreams by equipping, empowering, and educating them. So that's what I do. When people ask me what I do for a living, that's what I do, is give back and serve my community in that way. And I also help vets with getting VA funding. So I work with a lending firm called Legacy Lending, and we help vets maximize their VA benefits. A lot of it is just miseducation. So I help them with that too. So
That's awesome.
That's what I do, man. And again, I'm happy to be on here with such a fine group of panelists, and I'm great. I'm grateful to have this conversation with you guys. So thanks, bro.
Excellent. Appreciate that information. And Dimitri DC Carter, go ahead and tell us who you are and what brings you to the show.
All right, well, I'm Dimitri DC Carter. You see it in the name. I work as part of a mental health practice as a mentor and a certified life coach as well. I'm from New Orleans. I reside in Alabama now, 21-year Army veteran, retired. I retired about 4 years ago. Yeah, it's been a long time. I'm real passionate about this, about giving back in some form of way. It's always reach one, teach one, and I'm just reaching out.
Yeah, appreciate you. Appreciate all y'all for spending the time in the audience. You know the name of the game, the Floor is Yours podcast. We do make a point to make sure that you heard, your voices is heard, your questions are addressed. So if you got any, make sure you type them in the comments, and we'll make sure we get to them as we need to see the opportunity. But Dr. Jennings, again, as I said earlier, you've been on here a number of times, and one thing that you've always expressed is your passion to build men, help build men. Do your part, and you've been on here a number of things. You got other organizations, Boys Matter to Men, where you try to get them young and try to head off some of those challenges that we face so that we could be stronger and better as we progress. But MenShift, just tell us a little about what MenShift is, what it means to you, and what the opportunity is for us, the partnership, if you will.
Yeah, awesome. So what I am, it's funny, I was going through some of my text messages and realizing that MenShift was actually something initially with my nonprofit that was supposed to exist. So Boys Matter to Men supports young boys ages 8 to 18 through mentorship. But when we founded it, we always knew that it was important for men to be supported also. So with that, we had a goal that we would have men who would mentor men. That's happened like within the organization. But recently, when we were just seeing how everything's happening more and more with our men needing support, it was one of those where there was a shift and a desire. November was Men's Health Month. And when I looked and I posed a question, I've seen so many things that we do for women, but I wasn't identifying or seeing anything that was happening for men in November. So I just put a post out and asked, would the community want me to kind of plan something? And I had two gentlemen, Jason reached out, Chris reached out, and then we end up connecting also with Lucy, who reached out, and we just kind of put our heads together to say, what could we do to break the silence that was existing with men? So as we were kind of thinking, the thought of shifting the attitudes toward men having safe spaces where they don't have to be silent just kind of came birth after that. But what normally happens, y'all, when we have things for men, it's always like kind of a pop-up, an annual thing, and then you don't hear anything else about it. So as we were talking about topics that, really relate to men, it was like, let's not stop it at an annual event. Let's see how we can dig deeper and really have a safe space created that monthly men have the opportunity to share their thoughts around topic that really matters and creating that safe space for them. So that's what MenShift has now come to be, where, we sit as a team and we talk about what are some of the nitty gritty, like really important topics that men don't often have the time or the space to openly talk about, to get solutions, to be able to discuss how they're feeling so that they can kind of move on. So that's what we kind of came up with MenShift.
That's dope. That's dope. I love it. Hey, seems like someone, if you're watching it on feedback on Facebook, D or Jason on a different device, maybe mute it so we don't get that feedback. I think it's fixed now. But hey, Dr. Jennings, thanks for sharing it all this with us. But one thing that stood out, and I want Jason and DC to respond to this. But what does it mean to you to see women help and prop us up in an area that's so needed? I mean, was there any reservation for y'all from being involved with it because a lady was pushing it or trying to, structure it?
I guess I'll go ahead and jump on that one.
Yeah.
I see how DC looked off into the horizon. But no, for me, there was no hesitation. Again, me and Liz, we're not strangers. We've done work together in the past, but outside of that, I'm just at a place and space now where I'm just comfortable with sharing it. And I feel like, as I went through things in life, and whether it's losses of loved ones or loss of relationship or whatever the case may be, I feel like me balling up, whether I'm around men, women, stranger, close friend, I feel like it's for me. Me having these conversations are important. And I feel like the people that benefit from the conversation is just a byproduct. If somebody hears something I'm saying and it helps them understand something better, or it unlocks something in them, that's just a byproduct. But it starts with me sharing that. The more I share it, the more, it helps me cope with those things of the past. So no issue for me, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of the same thing. Like if I was hesitant about Liz running it, I wouldn't be here. You know what I'm saying? Like she put her foot down first, and she grabbed up a team and she moved forward. She entrusted us with her vision. And that's all that matters. Like at the end of the day, however we get to the finishing line, doesn't really matter who's coming with us, as long as they're coming with us, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I would definitely just second or third with what both of you said. We've got a long history of women stepping up, right? When our community is struggling. They breathe life, inject, energy into us, whether it's in the religious sense, whether it's in the education system with our schools or just whatever. Our women are there. So we definitely respect what you're doing, Dr. Jennings, and appreciate the opportunity to have this discussion. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to just talk on that. Because I would love this just to be an honest conversation. Like, what kind of pushback do I get from at times working to create safe spaces for men? Interesting enough, from the men, I don't really get like a lot of pushback. It's usually from women that I feel need to kind of understand the importance of respecting that space for men. And I'm okay to politely like tell them, no, this is for men only and it's okay. Like, how often do we as women have groups, have months, have tons of things, events regularly, spaces that girls and women can kind of connect. But oftentimes when I plan something, whether it's for boys or men, there's usually always this pushback of, why can't we have, this available for boys or for men also? And I'm saying, I'm not saying you can't, but it's okay to have things where men are important enough to have a space that's designated for them. And so I think being able to empower men to be able to ask for that, and also to remind women that they need to respect that space for men, is needed and necessary also.
That's good. That's good. And for either one of you, one of the questions I had, like, what was there a specific event or just over time where you saw the need for something like this?
I think just me growing up, I think I've always seen it, right? But I didn't see it because I looked through the eyes of a person that was not mature enough to be ready for it, or to be even bring them to the table. Like, now that it's coming through, I wish it was something like this out there when I grew up, right? So I'm looking forward to the future because now my kids can grow up through the same thing. I have two sons that live with me, and hopefully eventually they'll be a part of this so they can get some guidance that I can't give them, or just a different view on how things go. Like, as for, they can learn something from JJ, they can learn something from you, they can learn something from Liz. So I think it's always been a need to be there, and I'm just happy that it's there and I could be a part of it.
Yeah, and I will just caveat off that, like, we often talk, me, DC, and other groups of men, we talk about, how we're raised, and it's just not cool, or it's not a common thing where you see young boys that's able to even articulate how they feel, or they were just taught this, suppress it, just don't cry and just be tough. But yeah, man, I think as men, we go through a lot. Not saying that women don't go through anything, but we carry a different weight and it hits different. So we're not able to open up and express how we feel on a consistent basis. It just leads to unhealthy habits, and it leads to a bad ending. So
yeah. So Dr. Jennings, is that something you hear from men, like they don't have the space or they struggle with feeling safe to express what they're challenged with?
Yeah. So this is really personal for me, which is why I fight for this space so much. It kind of goes back to my father. I know that my father struggled quite a bit with alcoholism, and his ability to kind of talk. I never really saw him having a space where he could like talk and be open. At one point growing up, before he passed away, we had a time where we got to actually have this open conversation. And it felt like his guard was finally down and he got to just be honest about how he was feeling. But when I think about his ability to have men or a positive circle that could possibly have been an outlet, as opposed to him always having to go to alcohol, I wonder if that would have made a difference for him. It got to the point where my father actually kind of drunk himself to system failure and, died as a result of that. And so that became like something that in 2018 that happened that I'd always have in the back of my mind. So from there, I started having this passion to help veterans, and I live in a veteran town. So I brought a program to our community called Reboot Combat Recovery, which really was like a 12-week trauma soul healing, where you got to actually sit and talk, where men got to talk with we brought their families in, they got to answer these questions and finally like feel like it mattered to them what was going on the inside, not just this exterior. Mm-hmm. And there were so many of the veterans that completed that connected with me, became leaders in the program for me, training them up, became mentors in my mentorship program. So that sparked the ability to say, once men have the opportunity to talk, it unleashes this hope, this desire, this future that's been locked in them, that they needed to have that safe space to have. And more recently, I was confronted with another personal situation last year's June, where a gentleman was really struggling, called me, reached out, and And, long story short, he ended up taking his life. But before he did that, what he told me, he was like, don't ever let men stop feeling heard or seen. He was like, that's something you do and you do it very well. And they need to know that. And so sometimes they feel like it's too late for them. So I wish we would have had a MenShift available for him. So in his honor, partly, and my father's honor, that's why this exists.
Yeah, wow. Powerful story. Appreciate your transparency and sharing that with us. Some of the things that we men do talk about, and I don't want to say easy, like, it's no challenge talking about them, but, drug and alcohol abuse, divorce, single parenting. But there are a lot of things out there that men deal with that don't get the attention. So I was wondering, Jason, DC, or even Liz, just from your conversations, what are some of those things that need to be talked about, but for whatever reason, out of fear or just society norms, we don't talk about those things?
I see Jay looking at me, I think as far as like, I'm gonna say for right now from the African American community, for men, I think mental health is one of those big things that men we kind of run from, right? Because we was always taught to be strong, never understood, never was taught how to be weak, and we looked at PTSD, depression, anxiety, as if it was beneath us, right? And we look down on other men who even try to share that. So that is key for me. When I was able to be transparent, I had a group of mentors and brothers in which, me and Jay reignited each other's friendship again over 14, 15 years now. That I can be transparent with. I can be weak there because I know they're going to be strong for us, right? So that is the big thing. And the only thing I can say to that is if a man is vulnerable enough and transparent enough to show you his weakness, he don't expect you to put a roof over his head to stop the rain. He just wants you to be the umbrella for him every now and then just to stop a little bit of the pressure.
Yeah, it's good feedback. Appreciate that. And you're right, that mental health space is one that's what I've noticed since I've been in this space, that we're talking about it in the sense of, it's needed, but it's usually what's the unspoken part of it, but it's not me. It's everybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
So, hypothetical. It's a hypothetical.
Yeah.
It's the barbershop hypothetical. What if y'all knew somebody, right? And that's why I stick to the word coach, right? Because in the barbershop, we've all been in barbershops. You never hear nobody in the barbershop say anything about a therapist, but they'll talk about a coach. You hear the word coach 15 times, right? Because we put that stigmatism on that word, right? So it's okay. We can move along with the times and be like, okay, we getting coached, right? You getting mentored, right? And then that allows that conversation to go around in the barbershop, because I don't know if you know or not, Liz, the barbershop conversations is the barbershop conversations, and it goes in deep. There's some therapists in there, right? So
it's equivalent to the beauty shop. They got the gossip going on in the beauty shop. Yeah.
Good point. So Jason, what would you add to that question? Some things that are challenges that we need to be talking about but aren't being discussed.
Man, that's a loaded question, man. And I'll tell you, if I had to put a few things out there, I would just say, man, the detours that we go through as men, So I can only speak for me. I don't like speak of other men, but we carry this weight of having to make sure everybody is good. And we're taught that young, I just remember, as a young man being taught, hold the door for the girl, put a chair out for the girl, carry the food for the girl, put your coat down for the girl, put the umbrella up for the girl. You get older, it's the same thing, hold the door for the lady. So we get so used to being sacrificial and making sure everybody else is good and who's checking on the man. And I think anything that's one-sided is unhealthy. So I think for us, man, when I say continuously having these conversations, it keeps the pressure from building up, because we have needs. We too go through failures. We have setbacks. Who are we talking to about that, and how often, right? So that's why I love, again, flowers out to Liz, man, for creating this space and this platform where men can come just to talk. You don't have to have all the answers. Just come and sit down. Let's just create the space for the conversation to happen.
That's important. I'm glad you said that. I was going to reiterate that sometimes it's not about finding an answer, but sometimes just discussing, right? Having an outlet to express what you're feeling and can make all the difference. Dr. Jennings, is that what you're finding?
Yeah, I'm learning so much from being a part of this space. I feel that, we are all lifelong learners. And one of the things that I learned from the men is men don't always have a language to express what's going on. Oftentimes we say as women, oh, men don't talk, or, they aren't that communicative. But what I've learned, and it was funny, like when we were trying to figure out, just as we were planning out how much time to allot to like MenShift, at first the men were like, what, 2 hours? Like that's gonna be forever. And then once we finally like got into the conversation, we were like past the time trying to like shrunk it. I was like, didn't I tell you all that once men have the ability to have a space for them, there's so much in them to be able to come out. So I just want to debunk that myth that men don't talk or they aren't communicative. They just haven't had, and some women need to like hear this. They just oftentimes they may not have the space that allows them the freedom to find their words and communicate how they're feeling. Sometimes you have to be able to allow that safe space to happen. You have to give them time and not pressure them to be able to communicate, but let it be an environment that allows that to flow for them, which is so vital because they all have a voice in them. You just have to be willing to tap into it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. You made me think about some of the conversations I've had with men, and what they express is when they're talking with their significant other, their female counterpart, they would encourage to talk, but it was almost conversation was guided, or they was cut off, or they was diagnosed. Your problem is because you don't XYZ. So you made me think about like, what does a safe space look like? Like if you had to name, I don't know, 3 to 5 things to consider if you set up this safe space for your mate, whether it's your mate, your son, or a sibling, like what would that look like, Dr. Jennings?
Yeah, it's funny. One of the things that I've been good at, and I always hear men say, is it's really easy to talk to you, right? And I think the reason that is the first thing you have to do is a lot of times when we're requesting someone to talk to us or a man to talk to us, there's a lot of pressure, meaning I think that's where you said that guiding is like you're locked in on if they're trying to find what they want to say. Women have a tendency of trying to complete the sentence or the thought before they even get it out. So they don't always need that to happen. It's okay to have those pauses where, a question is posed and there's a space to allow processing to happen and allow it to happen naturally. Because oftentimes a man may be still thinking about it and that woman may have kind of got up and left when he was still in the mode. So giving a safe space and time and not having it to be, it has to happen right then, I think is very important. Another thing is tone, right? I think the way that a woman's tone is presented to a man matters. And so if that man feels that it's a soft and engaging tone versus one that is kind of aggressive, then that's going to also like contribute to what you may hear. And then not having any expectations. Like sometimes we already as women like go ahead and anticipate what this person's going to say. And so we already have a reaction, a response, a facial expression, as opposed to just like relaxing all that and allowing space for that to happen as is and natural. I think those are just really key things that allow that space of communication and openness to happen.
Yeah, and Brent, he's in the comments. He said, "Tone, absolutely the tone." But same thing for the gentleman. What 1 or 2 items that are important for you if you're trying to get a safe space created for yourself?
Well, I'm gonna say I'm just gonna name one, right? That's personal, right? It's the way you react to someone else, like so a spouse. I'm talking about a spouse, a female friend, right? The way they react to someone else going through it is going to tell me or not if you're there available for me to go through it, right? So like if I'm dating somebody and I'm watching a movie and a man is being emotional or something, or he's, it's a scene where he's just spilling his guts, what he going through, and she says something about, look at that, look him over there crying like a little girl. I'm not telling her nothing, right? Like that's it, right? So that's it, right? Because it's just the way I perceive you're going to take it. That means that when if we get in an argument or disagreement, I'm afraid you're going to use that bullet to hurt me. Right? You're going to use that nugget because I just gave you a bullet that can only hurt me and you chose to use it. Right? So that's going to make people like discard like a little bit, like be a little safe and more reserved with their ideas and what they're going through. And they're going to be less transparent and they're just going to hold it inside. Right? They're going to hold it inside and then it's going to show up in some other way. JJ.
Yeah. Amongst everything else y'all have already said, I would probably say for me, it's body language. That speaks before you say anything. Your facial expressions, your posture, the rolling of the eyes, sucking of the teeth, all that stuff, man. For a man, especially you think about it, right? Think about all the layers that man probably went through just to say, you know what, I'm about to just share my heart, or I'm about to just let her know this vulnerable. I'm about to put her into this vulnerable space. So he's already fought his mind, the stereotypes. He's already fought all of that. And now he's there. And then I show up at the table and I'm like, hey, just want to share this with you. And you give me, you roll the eyes on me. It's like, okay, you said enough. You know what I'm saying? Or as you're expressing it and there's a disagreement or, she just don't agree with what you're saying. That's okay to disagree, but you don't have to express it in your body language. So for me, man, body language is huge.
Yeah, that's important. Those nonverbals, talk about how you communicate verbal and nonverbal. Those nonverbals speak just as loud, as me opening my mouth up. Yeah. So Dr. Jennings, earlier you were giving that story about the gentleman that took his life. I know that was, man, just traumatizing, maybe is the right word, maybe the wrong word. But when you're talking about how to set up a safe space and men talking without being judged, he felt that he could. And I'm wondering, like, how do you set that up initially so where he can come to you without fear of being judged for something like that?
Yeah, okay, if I could just replay the conversation. This was someone who normally wouldn't talk to me, right? I guess he just kind of saw me and he called me one night and he was just like, are you available to talk? And he just wanted a phone call, but I sensed, okay, it's late at night, not normal. And I followed my instinct and my instinct asked me to just say, where are you? And so he told me where he was at and I said, I'm coming to meet you. So when I tell people this story, they're like, it's about 9:30 and you left to go meet someone that you, but in that moment I did, because I felt like something, I guess that my intuition usually is pretty good. So I met this person and we end up talking for about 3.5 hours. And the way that this person went from being at a very unstable state to sharing about things they love doing, what they hadn't done in a while. It was like seeing life kind of come back in that moment. And left on a positive note. And we had a couple of good weeks between there. What I learned from that interaction, that first of all, it was prioritizing this person enough to stop what I was doing, to say, you need something, I'm going to be there, and I don't even have to know you like that. And I think having that where that person felt like they were a priority, they don't often feel that way. That started it. Once we kind of did that, I automatically opened the conversation with saying, here, I'm just here to like support you and help you through whatever you need to get help through. So by putting that out there, I think that also took away titles. And I also shared stuff in my life, in that conversation that probably, he didn't know about me, but it was this exchange of, we're human, life happens, and we're going to get through it. And so I think just that sometimes people need to feel that when they're having a rough moment, that we've all had those rough moments. oftentimes we're not willing to share that or divulge that information. So it makes it feel like we're, high and someone can't relate. So being able to have that equal ground, I think has always been very important when it comes to like sharing and open up and allowing that safe space.
Yeah. DC, you talked earlier about, if you was watching a movie with someone and saw how she responded to that movie, it would let you know if you was able to open up, right? But that's how the fear of being judged is everything to me, right? Whether you're saying it's our ego or a facade, whatever we're carrying, if we feel like we're going to be judged, we're going to shut down or not even disclose it, right?
Yeah, we're going to give you that window of opportunity, right? Every man is different the way he shows that he's willing to be transparent. And he needs to talk, right? He's going to give his spouse, the opportunity, right? But unfortunately, some of them miss it, right? There was a reel I seen probably about a couple months ago. It was this older white guy. He was sitting outside with a Jets hat on, the football team Jets hat on, I think it was. And he had this thing of yarn, right? And he was playing with the yarn, and it was just probably about a couple feet. He was just playing with the yarn. And then his girl comes outside, was like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why you out here crying? Why you looking all sad?" He was like, "When I got this yarn, it was like 20 years ago when I finally bought this yarn, and it's almost done." Right? And he was having a moment. That was her opportunity to see that he needed to talk more, right? Because that yarn symbolized it more than what she thought it did, right? It's the time that he's lost, meaning that probably he has less left than what he's lived to that far, right? And he's thinking life decisions and things that went wrong. And she was like, "Oh, I thought you was crying and sad because you had a Jets hat on." And he was like, "You know what? I'm good."
Yeah.
Right? Now, once you miss that moment, I am so sorry to tell you that it is going to be hard, even if it's possible, to get it back again. Yeah. Because we as men, unfortunately, think that the biggest sign of strength is how long we can hold on to something. And when the biggest sign of strength is the ability to let something go. Right. So we put it there and you don't grab it, man, we ain't coming back.
That's good. That's good. It almost sounds like it's a risk reward decision, right? Is it worth the risk? So would you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with it. I definitely agree. It's like I said, it's a hit or miss. Like it takes us a minute to get to that point, and we're like, okay, we're there. We're ready to be vulnerable. You've earned this level of trust with me. I want to be transparent with you with what I'm going through. And unfortunately, if it's not taken advantage of, then it's going to be hard to find that again.
Yeah. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's a window, and then even if the men circle back and give her another opportunity, I mean, this is even with men too. I mean, we can talk about just being vulnerable to other men who misuse information that we disclose in confidentiality, but specifically with women, you may get another chance, right? But that window, man, like DC said, it's a small window usually, and it usually doesn't return. Now, I like to look at the other side of the coin. I think we got to do a better responsibility as men with getting into therapy and getting to safe spaces where we're able to be more open, and to just have the courage and confidence to share a little more, because it's unfair for a woman to only get one chance. They're human too, right? Yeah, but the reality of it is what DC said is spot on. I mean, we've kind of been raised and groomed a certain way to where you get that opportunity, and if you fumble it real bad, it's going to be a minute before you see that again.
That's true. That's true. I think another thing too to consider is that it's not always cake and ice cream, right? When you're having these conversations, they're difficult, and they're challenging. And then, as I stated earlier, the risk reward deal that you got to balance and understand. Like, you know what, it's part of it. But again, that doesn't give people the right to belittle you or make you feel less than because. So, but I want to go to some of these comments real quick, answer some of the comments and questions, and then we'll go to a commercial break. We got DeAndre Long. He's saying, "Good job, team. Appreciate you, DeAndre, for tuning in." My good friend and sister, Tamika, she's saying good evening. Same with Dorkisa. She's saying hello, everybody.
Hello.
and Liz, and I know you know who that is right there, right? Yeah, a good friend. Neil, Antoine Monroe. I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. He's the arms.
Strength sign. Yeah, that's what's
Yeah.
up.
Okay.
That's what's up.
And someone, I guess the page name is Respect My Boundaries. She's saying she loves this discussion. She also says, thank you for doing this. She's tuned in. Brent, he said, that's definitely what it is all about, creating a space so the conversation can start or be heard. You're right. You got to create that. Sometimes we want to just jump into the hard conversations, and it might be appropriate, but Dr. Jennings, I don't know if you want to speak to this, but there's a whole science out there about how to set up the conversation before it starts, right?
Yes, just the whole like group dynamics. And I think the best part is making sure that everyone is on an even plane. So you're always going to be explicit about what people are getting into, right? This is a safe space, confidentiality, like what's said here stays here. But these are things that we don't need to just say, but we really need to like mean and support. And I think for me with MenShift, we do that by honoring that space to make sure it is a men only space, right? Where you can be safe, you can be open, you won't be judged, you won't be cut off. So really, like if we're going to say something's going to happen, to follow through and ensure and making sure that's respected. Like there's been times where we've had a MenShift and there's been women who've registered and I will ask them to leave at the beginning because like I said before, I mean, it's on all the flyers. But still, it was like, this is really a men only space. Please politely leave if you're not a man at this moment. So just really respecting that, I think also is where it comes to setting that stage where people know that what's said sets the stage for what they're going to deal with as they move forward.
Yeah, good point. Good point. And Marquita, she says they have no safe spaces often, which is often the times with us, which is why these type of events are important. Trey McMullen said, very well said. And the solo experience says, hi, good people, just tuning in. So again, we're talking about MenShift organization created by Dr. Jennings to help foster building safe spaces for his men. So appreciate everybody tuning in. We're going to go to a commercial break. And after the commercial, we'll come back and continue the discussion.
Real men talk. If I had a group of brothers that I could confide in, a group of brothers that encourage me to be the best man possible, that hold me accountable for actions, but brothers that won't beat me down when I fall short. If I had brothers like that in my life, I'd open up more about my challenges. I wouldn't be afraid of being vulnerable and transparent. I'd be more deliberate in my actions and not scared of failure. I wouldn't act like everything is okay when I'm hurting inside. Sometimes it seems like there's an all-out assault from the world on black men, and hurtful words from my lady cut deep. I can't show my pain, 'cause if she knew that she hurt me, she would do it over and over again, hoping that each time cut deeper than the last. I do understand that women have challenges too. That's why I work so hard to be the strength she needs. But I need a band of brothers who understand that sometimes I simply want them to listen. Sometimes I need advice, but other times I need a shoulder to lean on. I need a band of brothers that create a safe space that gives us all a chance to talk about our fears. Because it's therapeutic when real men talk. Real men talk. Real men talk.
Welcome back to an episode of MenShift. We got a little inside joke for the people out there that don't know, man. Hey, we got one of the busiest men on the planet right here, DC Carter. Hey, if it's some space, you're gonna fill it up.
I try to run.
You got caught, bro.
I know I'm gonna get caught.
Yeah,
You got caught.
So, Dr. Jennings, we'll let you, if you don't mind, take the second part of this and run it, ask the questions, and
Awesome. Would love to. First of all, Gerard, thank you. Like that commercial, I think is so powerful every time I hear it. And it's one of the reasons why I reached out to you to see if we could kind of collaborate and just talk together about this topic. It's because I know that you've done a lot in the space of helping other men, mental health, conversation, relationship. So let me just give you props and highlight other men who are doing that for men too. So that being said, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is when it comes to MenShift, and one of the core reasons is a lot of men deal with isolation, right? Where they spend a lot of time like by themselves when it comes to that. And so one of the reasons why we wanted to create MenShift is, yes, to have a place to talk, but also to build that thing called community, where you have a safe space where you don't feel alone, right? And so I just wanted to kind of ask you all about just the whole concept of isolation. Like, I know, sometimes we hear men just want to be alone and things like that, but what is that thin line between a healthy level of isolation and it getting to an unhealthy level when it comes to men?
So we do like to be isolated, right? And being in isolation is not the real hard part for us. It's not having someone to reach out to when you need them, right? Because when you're there for somebody all the time, you're always there for everybody, family, friends, right? When you want to reach out to somebody and you don't have that individual, then you're like, that's when you like start really taking things to the inside. What we did, right? Me and Jason, right, and a group of other guys, right? Bunch of retirees. We have a group, right? And we go in a group. We talk to each other, right? We call and text each other individual. We have accountability partners, right? So I could come to Jason for something that I need to talk to him about, whether it's his stylist, right, which I'm still trying to get right, or whatever it may be, right? And then maybe Jason may not be the person I need to talk about this other part, right? Here's the thing about it. When Jason finds out I talked to somebody else about something else, he supports it. He doesn't get mad and say, why didn't you bring that to me? And that's the problem, the issue that we have, because we don't understand the position we play in someone else's lives. I can say I got 5 best friends, but if I get all the male associates that I have and say, hey, how many of y'all is DC's best friend? I'm gonna have 15, 20 people raise their hand. Why is that? Because we underplay and sometimes overplay the position we play in other people's lives. And when you do that, that means you're overstepping, and that's how you fall. Having that boundary around you, those individuals around you, those like-minded people, not the yes men, like-minded. It's two different things. Like-minded individuals to help you through those dark times, those isolated times. That's what helps you out.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll add to that a little bit. So I believe, there's not anything inherently wrong with isolating. I think when you lose accountability and when you lose an outlet, that's when isolation becomes bad. So usually men, we kind of isolate whenever we've been betrayed, we've been crossed, or we got to reestablish boundaries within our circle. You got to cut people off. Like we're trying to reestablish boundaries in a new space, whether that's after divorce or a new location, the military PCS every 2 to 3 years. So isolation in itself is not bad, but I think whenever I'm isolated and I've cut off accountability, so I don't have a community of men that I can call and say, hey, bro, I just need to talk, or hey, man, like I'm really going through, and I don't have people checking on me when they don't hear from me. That's accountability. And then I don't have someone that I've allowed to just give me hard truth. I'm jacked up. I need you to tell me, like with confidence, that tough love. Men, we need that. Women, y'all get that whether you want it or not. Y'all get a glass of wine and out with your homegirls and y'all sit and y'all talk. But we as men, when we isolate, we lose accountability and community. That's a dangerous combination.
Yeah. I like the fact that Jason, you put a distinction between there are times where isolation, I think, is necessary and appropriate, right? You need to gather your thoughts. You need to pause, take a moment, but it can become a detriment, when we lose accountability, when we lose focus on those things that we are responsible for, and we become negligent, right? So we shouldn't use isolation to keep us from being accountable or addressing the issues that need to be addressed. So good point from everybody. Yeah.
I think that's important. Thank you all for chiming in. Because I think as women, like we sometimes get confused on what to allow with that. So really the way you guys broke that down is, I think, very helpful for that too. So my next question, you know, even with us creating MenShift, sometimes I feel like I know the topics or issues that men are having that we may bring to the forefront, but sometimes there's hesitation on a men's side to join, to connect, to be a part of something that's created for them. What is that resistance? Can you guys kind of maybe explain why men, even though they ask for certain things for themselves, why they might be resistant to join, to connect, to be a part of it?
Yeah, I'll start off. It could be a number of things, but one is trust, right? We're in this gossip society where we're asked to be vocal, sometimes just to be weaponized against you, you know. And that right there is, and we kind of touched on that earlier. Like if you miss the opportunity, we open up and you don't handle it right, forget about it. But Jason made a great point. Like we shouldn't expect perfection from people. But with that being said, I think you got to know your people to a certain degree, to know who you trust, who you can trust, and lean on those people. I think one thing about us, you know, the military background, and I'm sure you too, Dr. Jen, is like we don't just go through life responding to things. For me, I try to prep and prepare for things. Like I know who I can reach out to if I'm in a trying moment. I know whether it's, you know, emotional, physical, anything that I need help with. I know those people that I can trust and depend on. And I think a lot of us don't deal with it or think to even address it until the problem comes up, right? And then a lot of times you're in a bad situation, opening up to people, sometimes with people with good intentions, but they're just not equipped. Their capacity is not such that they can even help you in those situations. So I think it's important to prepare and know who you can lean on in times of crisis.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Jason.
and if I had to add anything to that, sometimes, you know, we as men, we're a little hesitant. Usually this, you know, is due to just past hurt, or like you said, we don't really know who we can trust, who really has good intentions. There's a lot of things that can tie into that. But man, it's just so layered with why men kind of fall back from seeing something like this and like, yo, like, I don't know if I can jump in and get involved. And I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier with however you was raised. I know me being raised in the South, you know, sometimes we tend to over spiritualize a lot of things. If you think that we can just pray everything away, and we forget that there's practical exercises or practical application with things that we have to use here in the earth, along with our spiritual practices and disciplines. So if I think that I can just, you know, pray these bad thoughts all away, but it don't take any work with me talking and getting practical tools and healthy boundaries and community, all that's required. And the only thing I was thinking of when you asked that question was, a lot of times we like to quote a scripture, you know, it's not good for man to be alone. Okay, that's true, but that's not only in relation. That's not only in romantic relationship. That's in community. It's not good for me to be alone. I need brothers. I need support. I need community. So it's just a lot of. I mean, I feel like that's a very loaded question, but there's a lot of reasons why a man will look at this and be like, I see it. It looks good, but I don't know. I might be good on that. So.
Thank you.
I think in due time, it's more patience. You know, we're gonna see somebody go through. Okay, he made it through. All right, I'm gonna go there. Like everybody's not gonna run to be uncomfortable. And unfortunately, to get a bigger change in what we're seeking, men have to become uncomfortable, right? Because comfortability is what gets us set in our ways and not being transparent. So I think this calls for men to be uncomfortable. And if we want something, I said before, like if you want something that you've never had before, then you have to do something that's going to make you uncomfortable. And it will become comfortable.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you all for that feedback. So, just to share what I'm noticing from since we started in November, we had a November MenShift meeting, and then we recently just had one this past weekend for January. The topic we did in November was like breaking the silence, where, the importance of giving safe spaces for men to talk about how they're feeling, give language to how they're feeling. And then in January, the topic that we came up with was building the bond, meaning for fathers who, and this could be, you have a great relationship with your child, or it could be there's a breakup or a divorce, and there's this alienation or this challenge with that father being a part of that child's life. And some of them, they're totally like cut off. But we have these titles where men are sometimes seen as deadbeat dads, or, they don't want to be a part, when sometimes there's a lot of barriers to them having that. And so allowing the man the opportunity, to space to kind of share maybe how they're feeling being on the other side of it and wanting that relationship, but not knowing how to. Next month, we're going to talk about, for those who have been through divorce or heartbreak, how that's addressing them too in the process. And so we've tried our best to, really think about topics that men are dealing with, but having both sides of it, not where there's someone completely hurting, but someone who could have a positive side, someone who have experience with that. So they all kind of have something contribute to that conversation in the process. So yeah. So that being said, I just wanted to kind of just talk to you all about the future plans for MenShift and just get your thoughts on it. So in my mind, I envision, right now it's a virtual platform, because our goal was to be able to allow people to join and connect without the barriers of having to go travel. This is your place, and you can kind of have it with you on that regular basis. But future wise, I thought about the possibility of, having a conference and maybe even a retreat for men, 2 to 3 days. My question is, women, we love that. How do you guys feel men would take the idea of having a retreat that's set up for them? Do you think they would participate? Is that something you would participate in? What's your thoughts on men investing time, energy, and money into something to that degree?
I'll jump on that grenade. No, I think men will be open to it. With anything, consistency and patience is a requirement when you're asking men to come out of an uncomfortable space that they may have been in for a period of time. But it depends on what we're doing, right? So if you get, I'm sure with the men on this panel here, if you say, hey, I would say probably name it, not retreat. It'll be a little something different. It may be, I'll let you work with the name on it. But if we're doing something fun like a shooting range, you got men that's going out and we're having target practice, or we're doing something that men do naturally, but we just have a community that we're doing that together. That would be something that we would do. Now, if you want to sit around and sit Indian style and watch, The Notebook, that ain't gonna happen. I'm just letting you know. So you're smart enough, you can, solicit a panel of men and say, hey, what are the top 10 things you enjoy doing? If it's catered to men, the environment is safe, and we're doing something that we enjoy doing anyway, I think men will show up.
Okay. Thank you for that.
I concur. I concur.
Yeah.
Thank you. What about you, Gerard? Have you gone away to something that's been like a men only, and how has that been for you?
Yeah, we actually used to do that right before COVID, a couple years before COVID. We didn't stop because of COVID, but to the point that Jason made, like if it's something that we enjoy, which is sometimes to a fault, right? I guess we shouldn't go and look for fun and everything. It was traditionally considered fun, right? I think these things need to be challenging. If I go there and I'm just throwing a fishing hook into the water and eat good, and I go back, not saying that they can't have some benefits, because I was able to decompress, but I think it needs to be meaningful. The information needs to be relevant. And how do you prepare for that, right? It's not easy, but I can tell you that it's for who it's for. You can't appease everybody, but you know, that old saying, Dr. Jennings, if you build it, they'll come. I think if you build it, you know, promote it, get the right people on board, and it's needed, and I think people will respond accordingly.
Yeah, thank you for that. Like when I think of it, I think of, I always see men like doing golf tournaments or things like that where they have the ability to decompress. But to me, like talking like around a table for dinner, but it's like, where we all can kind of do those things where you have these spaces, but communication is something that's already generated. And I also think because we do have the platform of MenShift where men are already learning on a regular basis to talk, it's already building that community so that it's not unfamiliar to them and things like that. Because that's what we're noticing so far. We've had different men show up on each of the MenShift that we've done, and they all have been like locked in, engaged, giving feedback in the chat, just really like interactive during the topics, which is really great to see, and we want to continue to do that. So for that reason, it's meeting the message. But I think to be able to have a man have the opportunity to be refueled and go back to his home and, be that refreshed person, I think it really would make a difference. And so just thinking about that. So thank you all for chiming in with that. So, all right, Gerard, those were questions that I had. I'm going to bring it back to you.
Yeah. So I want to make sure we get over these few comments. We got a few more that came in after the commercial break. Marquita, I can't remember if we addressed it, but she said this is good. So appreciate you, Marquita, for tuning in and giving those words. Our main man, Gregory, he says, many men want a place to open up. We actually are searching for a place where we can be seen and not judged. He said, I encourage women to lead with concern, not correction. That's important right there. Oh. And you talked about that, Dr. Jennings. But he also said, once we know you care about our feelings without judgment, we are willing to open up. The secret sauce is to us, continue to open up, is trust. When we see that you can hold our vulnerability sacred, we will be willing to open up always.
It's really factual. That's a good word right there. Yeah. Some things we hit on too.
Yeah, that trust part is so important.
Yes.
Right? Men are, and I think, Jason, you talked about it, we're willing to open up. But if we see that
you missed that window.
Yeah. Good luck getting it happen again. So good childhood friend Corey tuning in. Appreciate you, sir. Gregory also said isolation is a form of self-protection. It's not ideal, but when we isolate, we don't fear judgment or being hurt. Anybody want to chime in on that before we?
Yeah, and I appreciate him making that comment. It is, I guess you would say it is a way of self-protection. It is a way that we kind of insulate ourselves from hurt, harm, and danger. But it's natural, right? It's a natural instinct. It's like a fight or flight thing. So I think, at least with me, when I think about before I isolate, for me, I'm usually thinking of, I don't feel safe. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard in this space. So it's the better of two evils. Before I lash out in anger, disrespect, or some unhealthy practice, let me just retreat and, protect myself.
Yeah.
And that's, again, it's not healthy to do that as a first response. I think as we go through therapy, we learn better ways, we'll deal with it. But isolation is what men usually go to because we don't want to come off as being the aggressor or angry or doing something, violent out of anger whenever we're just trying to be understood and heard. So great comment there from Gregory.
Yeah, definitely. And Gregory also said the resistance comes from not knowing what a community looks like. Being open is not a muscle that we use often. So when we are introduced to a safe place, we wonder, how does this work? And can we trust the people that are telling us we can be safe? Yeah, it goes back to that.
That's true. That's definitely true. But we got to get uncomfortable in these days of time, right? We get too comfortable in where we at, and then we stay there because it's comfortable. But complacency kills everything. Life, religion, everything it does. In wartime, complacency kills. So
no question about it. Yeah, that's what Brent's saying. You have to be uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable, you're not growing, in my opinion. You're right. There are times where absolutely you need to get uncomfortable. And again, they're not always easy conversations, but if we look at them as necessary and let that kind of be one of the guiding principles, I think we'll grow. Nelly said, hey, The Notebook is a good movie. I haven't seen that movie. I'll have to check it
She's
out.
gonna have her man sit and watch it with her.
Yes, somebody about to pay a cost right now.
Yeah,
Somebody
sure.
about to watch that this Saturday.
And another one for Gregory said, I have noticed men don't like being talked to. You know, put that in quotation marks. Men respond better when they are being talked with. You know, and that, we know that, right? Don't talk at us, talk to us, and let's have a conversation. But he said, when there is a chance for a man to give his insight and perspective, he is more engaged. Often men are turned off by facilitators that sound too high and mighty.
Yep.
Men like to know that their blemishes are not discredited, but perceived as tools they need to once survive. Men feel seen when they are acknowledged for their battles they have won, not judged for two injuries they collected, but supported to become better. Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah. Anybody want to respond on that one before we move on?
I mean, it's really self-explanatory, honestly. Like I said, we want to go along as a conversation without feeling like what we said is used against us, like you said earlier, weaponized against us. Just you're trying to really get down to what's going on with me, and we're working together to get those triggers taken care of. So yes, great comment.
Yeah. And Brent came up and said, catch it, check it, change it. Simple. I like that. Powerful. So this has been a great conversation. What we're going to ask each of you to do is give us some parting thoughts, words of encouragement, whatever you want to lead us with before we sign off. Ladies first, Dr. James.
Yeah, well, thank you all for joining this conversation. Thank you for Gerard for always inviting us on to The Floor is Yours. It's been great. I think my parting thoughts would be to encourage others to do the same, right? MenShift is something that we're doing locally, but wherever you're at, wherever you may be listening in, there's a need for men to have spaces that are created for them. And that could look very different. But I want to just challenge everyone to be okay to allow men to have those spaces, not to infiltrate it, not to, shut those men down, but to make them feel and know that their voice is important, that they are valued and they are heard and they are seen. And so I'm going to echo that same message that was passed on to me to those who are listening. And I just want to thank everyone who has supported anything that I've done for either Boys Matter to Men, Men's Giving, or MenShift, because it means a lot to me to see men opening up and being able to express themselves. So
it's good. It's good. Thank you for that, Dr. Jennings. DC?
Hey, yeah, I appreciate you all again, man, for having us up here. I'll leave with this. At the end of the day, there is no definition for the word man. You define yourself. All right. We give words power. Everybody wants men to fail. The person that you look at in the mirror should not be one of them. So go ahead and be transparent with yourself. You define who you are. Don't let anybody else change that.
Man, awesome words, wisdom there. JJ.
Hey, bro. Thanks to you, man, for allowing me on your platform. Great space, man. I encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. Thanks to Liz for putting this together. Thanks for allowing me to be part of MenShift. Everything is great, and I think it's a necessity. So I'm grateful. And then DC, thanks for allowing me to sit next to you, sir. So, but if I had to say anything to the audience, I would speak to the men first. I would say, we got to do a better job with using the resources that are at our fingertips, whether it's a counselor, therapy, spiritual practices for sure, and just getting involved in community. We have to do a better part. We want to be seen, heard, understood. We have to do that inner self work. And then Liz hit it on the head. When it comes down to women better understanding us as men, allow us to be human, allow us to, if we're being vulnerable, respect that space, and just allow us to express ourselves a little more. And I think as we work on both sides, we'll get better as time goes on.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And I'll just some real quick words. I think one of the more underappreciated things to consider is how differently we communicate. Men, the old book, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Like, it's not just cliches. It is some truth to that. So I think understanding that can help shape, the conversation, how you interact with each other, how you even think about each other, right? The other thing, I know you talked about, Dr. Jennings, about how important it is for men only in some of these spaces, but there are times, and this, again, not to discredit anything you're saying, but there are times where it's appropriate, to have us together as a community, because it does take a community. One of the things that I learned when we did those events, some of the men complained that the previous year was amazing, but they went back home to the same environment. They got this great training and great understanding, these great tools, but went back to the same toxic environment. And it just discouraged them from even wanting to try again. So there are times, and maybe, we can consider, Dr. Jennings, on what that could look like in the future, But to your point, you're right. There are times when it needs to be us only sharing what we're experiencing, what we're going through. And lastly, the spiritual health. Like, if you're not growing in the spirit, I think you're selling yourself short. I saw a post once that said, a wise man, he said, get you a praying woman, not an argumentative woman.
Wise man.
Yeah, that was one of the posts I made that had a whole lot of controversy, and the women came, they was like, hey, he shouldn't give me anything to argue with, and I said, that could be true, but just that whole mindset that it needs to be some work there, there's nothing, I think, more powerful than a woman that petitions God on her man's behalf. So get you a praying wife and other significant other, and help you do wonders. But that's it. This was fun. Yeah. Lastly, how do we get in touch with y'all outside of here?
Yeah, so we have a Facebook group called MenShift, and so we invite men to kind of connect to that group. That way you can kind of keep up with our next MenShift, the topic. We try to also put encouragement throughout, so that men have that safe community that they can kind of start build also. So definitely connect to MenShift on Facebook, the group. And then we would love to have you join next MenShift, which is going to be on February the 21st, if I'm correct, from 1 to 3. But we'll share more details on social media. You can follow me, Elizabeth Carter Jennings, and then you can keep up with everything that's kind of going on with that movement.
Men only, right?
For now, we have talked about bringing at some point women in, probably after the men have had their voice. We are going to bring family in to have some conversations also. But for now, it is men only.
Good deal. And DC, how can we find you outside of here?
Hey, same thing. You can find me on MenShift. I'm over there all the time. You can always check me on social media. All my tags is what it is. Demetri Carter without the DC. On Facebook, what have you. So that's it.
Okay, my man Jinx.
Yeah, likewise. I'm hanging out in MenShift as well. You can catch me there on Facebook, and then everything, all social media platforms is Jason R. Jinx is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And then you can also find content concerning the Dream Up Foundation at dreamupfoundation.com.
All right, appreciate everybody. Appreciate the audience for tuning in and coming and engaging and sharing your comments. But this information is only good if we're reaching people. So help us with that. Please share it if you haven't done it. And if you have, share it again. Invite people to watch us and go to MenShift. Is that the Facebook page?
Yes, yeah. Group. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a group, and pay attention to what they got coming up next. Other than that, we appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you next time.
Appreciate you.
Need another, this one here really do it for you. Baby,